What is up, guys? Back in today with another reaction to Orb on the Movements of the Earth, this time with episode 24, unfortunately, the second to last penultimate episode. Again, looking forward to it, but it's just disappointing knowing that next week is going to be the finale. Absolutely incredible episode last week, definitely one of, if not perhaps the best episode of this series so far. Loved hearing all your guys' opinions on it as well, and what people thought towards Nowak's kind of daughter, what happened a few episodes ago. I think there was a comment that I really resounded with that being the fact that Nowak was kind of not betraying himself, but he kind of knew it was his daughter when she blew herself up, but he didn't want to accept that fact. He didn't want to accept the fact that she wouldn't be going to heaven and such. And I think that is the kind of correct way to look at that scene, especially after him after the scene of him kind of begging for her to reach heaven at the end of last episode. Like I said, just an absolute incredible scene. Unfortunately, Draka is dead, I believe, at the end of last episode, so no idea how the movement will be continuing on, but I'm looking forward to seeing how it does. Do let me know what you guys think about this one though down in the comments. Leave a like on the video if you guys would like, and subscribe to the channel if you do want to keep up to date. Of course, she did send a pigeon with something written on it somewhere, so I'm not sure how that is going to convey everything that was in her head, but we will see. I really liked reading up about the deaths as well, the ironicness of Draka's death in relation to Schmidt, as well as his, lots of interest in, I don't know if you call it subtext, but lots of interesting little bits from last episode. Great day. Like a forte. Something you were born to do, something resonates with you. I always think about that, and I always think, what if someone's forte is something crazy like not really got an example, like crave crawling perhaps, and they'd never get into that because it's such a niche thing. It's such a what opportunities do you have as a kid to do stuff like that? Personally, I don't think I had any. Maybe if I looked, there might have been, but there's plenty of examples of things similar to that. It's like, but you never get an opportunity, so how would you ever figure out that is what your life is, your life's passion, and so on? Okay, we've got another change. So I'm assuming that was his dad we just saw dead, I think. Sorry guys, I just want to make sure. I might as well just rewind it back and just play it from there. Apologies about that, guys. we're in the end game, so I want to make sure I get things down. But like I did say in the intro, there's so much I take away from your guys' comments and your guys' opinions. It's really kind of amplified the series even more, seeing different viewpoints of certain events and such. Helped me understand certain things that I wouldn't have otherwise. I mean, my vision's not great, so I can barely see the stars anyway, but I definitely wouldn't be able to like put together constellations like this. Yeah, I think that was. Is this constellation got some kind of certain meaning behind it? I'm assuming. Like I said, I'm really not. And I'd never had any interest nor knowledge about any of this astrology business before this series, which again is just telling of how fucking incredible the show is, that it captured me right from the start and throughout 25 weeks of episodes. I've said this to my friends, and I say this often, but like if you told me the premise of this show and yeah, I wouldn't have any interest in watching it. That's the thing that I've discovered from watching anime. In general, you have to be a little bit brave, I guess, in terms of taking the step into watch anime, because it's got such a, especially when I like started, it had such a stigma and so on. So you just kind of got to try everything. That if you hear the promise of something that doesn't sound interesting, you've got to try it with anime, because it could be absolutely incredible, even if it doesn't resonate with you, or you have no interest in the material, seemingly. Almost makes you feel proud seeing all our past main characters and even side characters in that opening, doesn't it? So this is our final main character. Of course, we did see that scene at the end of last week. I spoke about these boxes before, didn't I? About the confession and boxes that you sit in and confess your sins and absolve, is it? Remove, I guess, yeah. Remove your sins by talking to a priest. Again, I play it's a big part of Silent Hill 3. It's a really interesting sequence there. I think I already gave my thoughts on these. Not a fan. The 21 Sacraments. That's Silent Hill 4 right there. I think it's 21. It might just be my brain. It might just be, yeah. I wouldn't. Like I said again, I said this. I don't really agree with another human being able to do this, even if it is on behalf of God or whatever. not awfully reassuring, is it? I would think it would be quite interesting to. Sorry to pause again, but I would think again. I'm not going to speak too much on the fact the way I don't like this because I spoke about it for quite a while. I'm not sure if it was in this show. It might have been in this show maybe last week or 2 weeks ago. But yeah, like I said, I just don't like the fact that there's someone that listens to this stuff. And if there is like a crime, surely you like have to tell the police or something about that, not just absolve it of the person. Again, I just don't really agree with this type of thing. I've kind of lost my point here, to be honest. uh, but oh yeah, I was gonna say it would be pretty interesting being able to hear people's stories like this, like anonymously. I mean, you can online. To be fair, I'm not sure what if people like telling the truth or not. This is kind of like in a situation like this. What reason do you have to lie in real life? Online, people just lie for the fun of it. So I think it's a little bit less kind of serious. But I think it would be an interesting position to be in to hear these people's stories and so on. These sins help. It might be a bit fulfilling to help people accept themselves a little bit in that regard and accept their sins. This guy's almost like totally against one of my favorite parts of the show, which is the ideology of knowledge and understanding and truth, learning more. Hmm. Sort of therapy, really. But again, my point is, who is this guy? What qualifications is this guy to have to do this? And like, yeah, goods. And I think we are actually in Poland now. I think that was mentioned at the end of last episode. I think he goes against my. I really like learning things. I really like learning new mechanics in games and puzzles and yeah, I just love. I'm really good at learning things as well. Not to toot my own horn, but I'm a quick learner. I'm one of those people that I can learn quite a lot quite quickly. I'm not one that kind of excels anything though. I'm one of those people that learn things quickly to a good amount, but I can never like be an expert or something. I don't think I can ever like um I like kind of it's weird because I do kind of get obsessed with things sometimes. Like I remember chess when that became popular. I started playing chess and I kind of became obsessed with that. I would play for hours, and it's the same like get some games that I like that really impressed me. I end up spending like Yakuza, for example. I picked up last week and I've already put a ridiculous amount of hours in, just like playing side games and so on. And yeah, I do tend to get kind of obsessed with things, but I can never again become like a top expert at it. But that's something that has an affinity with me. I'm quick at learning things, and I love kind of learning new things. So yeah, this guy's kind of ideology towards that is totally against mine, which I think is going to be quite interesting. And again, that's something I've resonated with this series quite a lot. The kind of pursuit of knowledge and truth. Although ironically, I've never been much of a like studier. Like if I look something up, I either learn it like right off the bat. So that was how he died. Yeah, I like learn it right off the bat, or I don't learn it at all. Like there's no amount of studying that can make me learn something I'm not interested in. 1 point. See, I know about that one because of a Yu-Gi-Oh card, Ursatic Polaris. Funny how much random shit I know from Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I think that whole archetype's to do with astrology. I do think this is pretty genius though to help us. Like we've only got 2 episodes with this character to help us really get to know more about him. I think this whole confessional setup is actually very well done. Just do. I think again, I said what a minute ago. I think that is like human nature, to be honest. I think not every human. There's always exceptions, but you know, like a learning race, if you know what I'm saying. Every race and every type of animal and such evolves. And I think that's our kind of way of evolving a little bit. I also think we did hear something similar to this earlier on in the series. I can't remember when though. I do agree with that sentiment a little bit as well. Sometimes you can be a bit greedy in your pursuit of knowledge and perhaps learn something that might affect you negatively. Oh shit, no way. Raphael Sensei, what the fuck? Oh my god. He got tutored by Raph. Yeah, again, thinking back, it's been fucking weeks. It's been months. I think we did hear about him tutoring people, right? Maybe in like a passing sentence or something. Wow. Okay. More Raphael. I mean, it was a surprise last week, but fucking hell. And on my point a minute ago, I mean, this series has been a great reflection of maybe learning too much. I mean, it's the right thing to do, I think. But seen plenty of people die and so on from learning too much, knowing too much. So not all positive. It's kind of like what's going on with Epstein stuff. You know too much about that situation, you're probably a dead person walking. That one we saw earlier. Yeah. And that doesn't look like anything to me. I'm not good at kind of image learning or anything like that. Why when I studied Japanese, I was really good at the hiragana and such, but the kind of pictures with the kanji and such is just like almost impossible for me. I can't put kind of words into an image like that. And you did. I wonder at what point this is. I mean, it kind of seems from how he's talking that this is towards like the end of. Yeah, this is late on in his life. And he looks, I don't know about you guys, but he does look slightly older. But that's just me. Your dad's teachings are nonsense. Again, I kind of agree with both stances. More so with Raphael, though, I think. And again, I think part of that is because, like he says there, I think I've always had quite a good intuition, and that's why I've been quite a quick learner. I think kids are also like an amazing example of this wonder as well, aren't they? Kids are always questioning everything. I mean, they are trying to understand how everything works. That's literally what that going from a kid to an adult is, I guess. But yeah, I think you kind of lose that a little bit when you become an adult. And again, maybe that is that switch to his father's kind of stance on knowledge and putting a limit on it. You think you see a lot of adults that think they know everything and think they're politically correct in all sorts and stuff like that. I've always been sorry to pause it again. Don't fucking hell. This episode's gone by quickly. Yeah, I don't. What was I going to say there? Yeah, I've always been someone that. I mean, I've got my strong kind of thoughts on things. I've got like a strong opinions about certain things. I'm not awfully political or anything like that. But I've always tried to keep in my mind. I like seeing things from other people's perspectives. That's another reason why I like anime so much, and I'm a big kind of character focused anime fan. Shows like this are phenomenal examples. But you always trying to keep in the back of mind. There's always room to learn something new, to change your thoughts on some things. Like we change as people day to day after we learn something new. Like if you thought you knew how something worked, for example, and it actually works a different way than how you thought. That's an example of a kind of new chapter in your life. Of now it's a life where you've got a different understanding of something, so you're not the same person you was yesterday. That's why I kind of hate politics, getting involved in that, because sometimes your opinion might change about some things, and just because you're aligned with something, you might end up denying a certain kind of thought process because that is seen as the opposite kind of thought process, the opposite side of things. You don't want to be associated with that, so you'll kind of shut off that door of knowledge into that area. And again, I've always been someone that you should always be open to kind of change your opinions, even if they are kind of strong opinions. Yeah, you should never kind of rule out anyone's opinions or thoughts, or always try and take everything as a lesson, rather than someone kind of attacking you, for example. It's much easier said than done, of course, don't get me wrong. But yeah, just being open to learning something new, because that's how we grew to be where we're at. You started off as a human being with no knowledge of anything, and people taught you certain things, and the certain things they might have taught you might not have been right. So naturally, you correct that to fit who you are as a person. Ever changing, ever evolving, never learning. And again, it's quite common when you get to adulthood that stops, which is a shame. That's not just like you doing that. That is unfortunately a kind of thing that happens to your brain. It is harder to learn as you grow older and such. So yeah, my main question here is how much does this kid know about heliocentralism, if anything? Heaven. This is heaven for a kid. Again, another inquisitive kid like this. This is heaven. an all-you-can-eat banquet. Yeah, again, we know that this somehow turns into a tragic story of his father's death. How? I mean, he's involved with Raphael. That's the first kind of red flag. That is, yeah. And again, I'm not sure how far Raphael is into his kind of knowledge of heliocentralism at this point. But yeah, that was the first red flag. Obviously, the fact that his tutor's Raphael, a kid that literally died for his ideology on knowledge and so on, and learning, and the pursuit of truth. So, has it got anything to do with Raphael, his father's death? Probably. I mean, again, we saw that he was going to do the certain constellation, but he couldn't complete it. This kid here, I don't remember his name, so apologies. He didn't complete it, so I imagine it's got something to do with like a painful memory, which obviously that got brought about from Raphael. So it's a painful memory of a combination between Raphael and his father, right? I do assume. I think that can be quite disorientating as well. Getting, I said this about learning things, and sometimes you learn things that you think are the truth, and then they end up getting kind of replaced by a new truth later on in life, perhaps. And I feel like it's really powerful when you get told something, especially from a figure like your father, and you not disregard it per se, but you do, as a person, you do naturally go against that, especially as a quite curious, inquisitive kid. You go against that when you are proven wrong, which is not to say you've been proven wrong. There's always going to be certain events that might happen, but again, I think of something terrible is going to happen from him being too inquisitive and learning too much, and something bad's going to come from that. Where his father maybe dies from that situation. That is just like a major hammer home of, damn, my father really was right. I should have listened to my father. He was absolutely correct about this. Whereas that's not exactly the case. Just because there's one exception of that where it happened that some people found out about something maybe, and it is got someone killed. Just because that is the case doesn't mean it's necessarily wrong to have that process. It has its drawbacks. It has its sacrifices that yeah, that do happen. But I think how our brain works, that I can understand why he is how he is now. With the process of knowledge is, yeah, knowledge is a dangerous thing, because it is a dangerous thing. I haven't watched Oppenheimer, but I imagine there's quite a good. I really should watch that movie. I imagine that's quite a good example of that too much knowledge, being too smart, learning too much, and creating something, or which I think relates to learning something about the past as well. Creating something like that would be, I mean, it's a monumental scientific achievement, but it's also absolutely disastrous. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Again, we haven't actually seen any of the negative stuff with the pursuit of knowledge from this new main character's kind of point of view yet. I think we probably will see it quite soon into the next episode, which is the final episode, which I find really interesting, because this very much didn't feel like a final finale kind of deal, did it? This was just like the beginning, the start of learning about this new character. So I'm really interested to see how they do wrap this all up in just one final episode, starting with this. Nice end scene here as well. I believe it is the little kid and the father, which I've just noticed, which is really cool. I'm not sure how long that's been there. probably for the whole ending, to be honest. But yeah, we just wasn't able to recognise it till now. But like I said, lots of interesting little details. Again, I relate quite a lot to this kid. I think everyone did at some point. But again, you end up kind of changing your ways to conform to society, to parents, to peers, whatever it is. But yeah, Raphael came out of nowhere. I'm kind of thinking he might be like the kind of ace in the hole, if that makes sense. Maybe he was. I doubt he was taught about heliocentralism by Raphael, but maybe he kind of got to a point where he could maybe wrap his head around it, or maybe even theorize something similar himself, perhaps. And he just needs like a bit of a push, and then it kind of gets the ball rolling from there. But why would he ever do that, considering his past that we haven't outwardly seen yet? But he said that the fact that knowledge is a kind of negative thing. We know how his thought process is. So how would a kid with that ideology now go on to kind of publish the work that have been seen over all this time. It's yeah, going to be really interested to see that. But again, thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you guys thought about this one down in the comment section. Again, lots of interesting talking points today. Leave a like on the video if you guys did like, and subscribe to the channel if you do want to keep up to date. And I'll see you guys next week for the final episode.